Howdy folks, Keywii here, and welcome back to Suzerain, a safe space in which should be awesome, where we got a few things to do. One thing to do, really. But it's been a few weeks, as you know, so I'm going to take it nice and slow, just sort of reacquaint myself with the situation at hand here. So, let's see here. We got our stuff. Nolio wants more fair trade deal, looser immigration policies. Volsland wants to warm up. Important we don't piss them off. Welland wants stronger border. We should prevent Blutish nation popping up. Vespia, real capitalist and willing to drop us for on a dime for a dime. Rumberg is readying. Rumberg is a threat. Not a fan of Rumberg. But these notes are great. They just straight up remind me of everything I don't remember. So, Workers' Right Act. Sign or veto a Workers' Rights Act that was approved in the Grand National Assembly. Okay, so let's see. Section I establishes a minimum wage of 2.5 Sordish Ren per hour. Section 2 sets a weekly maximum of 60 hours of labor. Section 3 establishes a double overtime pay per hour after 40 a week. Section 4 determines that workers are to be protected against occupational hazards. -1 government budget. This is just not going to be good. Same workers' rights as citizens. If any employer shall not abide by these rules, they will be heavily fined by the government, and if not corrected, will face legal action. I agree with this in principle, but we have no budget. I mean, I guess sign it. We need it. We need to do it. We're in the minus, budget-wise. I signed the Comprehensive Workers' Rights Act of 1954 into law. Alright, we got no budget. Pass the Comprehensive Labor Rights Reform. Alright. New law on workers' rights. The Workers' Rights Act has been signed into law by President Rayne after the approval of the Grand National Assembly by majority vote on Monday following a 6-hour debate. Yeah, so the reason we want to do this is because workers' rights do improve the economy, right? Like, the worker having more money to spend and time to spend that money goes right back into the country. It goes into shops, it goes into the people. It's a running machine. You want people to be paid more so that they spend more on things that improve the economy. You don't want poor people. Well, you want some poor people, but primarily you want middle class. Who campaigned heavily for the bill, also sought to express his gratitude for the confirmation of the new laws, saying it contained much vital rules and regulations for the workers, backbones of our nation. Man, apparently I'm tired. The new law establishes a minimum wage of 2.5 Sordish Ren per hour and sets a weekly maximum of 60 hours of labor. It establishes new rules and regulations for overtime payments and determines that the workers are to be protected against the occupational hazards and be provided humane work conditions. The new laws also establish that migrants or undocumented workers have the same workers' rights as citizens. Ooh, that's unfortunate. That's gonna bite me in the ass quite hard. Rayne signs workers' rights bill into law. The recently implemented workers' rights, I don't like how it's double multiple. Workers' rights bill caused the initial protests against the government to mellow down after the Morbol mine disaster. Chants of anger have turned into solidarity marches. One of the spokespersons for the Nadam mining group has accused President Rayne of acting impulsively with the bill, saying that it puts too much weight on the businesses. After the public announcement, Nadam has received hundreds of lawsuits from people around the country. That's really funny. Workers' rights bills signed. In a surprising move, President Rayne has decided to do something right for his citizens by signing the Workers' Rights Act into a law. This looks like a publicity move after the terrible Morbol mine disaster. The new law establishes a minimum wage and sets a ceiling for the maximum amount of hours on top of new regulations for companies. Mr. Rayne's moves to give more rights to the workers has been welcomed by many. On the other hand, this may simply be a diversion from the actual real issues of the government. Yeah, leave it to radical news to say, oh, this good thing that everyone likes is just a ploy so people will ignore you. Like it's an actual change that genuinely benefits people. But we need to budget up here. Regional investment decision. Propose regional investment to strengthen the weaker parts of the economy. Shit, we don't have the budget. Oh, God. Gus Manger and Simon Hall have prepared an extensive regional investment package to revitalize one of the top 3 economically fragile regions by boosting the municipality budgets, providing large sums of businesses grants, and giving cheap loans to companies with liquidity problems. The proposal can be implemented in one of the following regions. We can't. We just straight up can't. We have a minus budget. We have a government debt. We need it to be in these regions, but we straight up can't do it. Budget allocation of law enforcement. An evening walk with Monica. I was in my office reading reports from the ministries. Oh, wow. I'm very burpy right now. About the current situation of the protests. My next scheduled meeting was about the law enforcement budget with Nia and Lilius. I heard some knocks on the door. Nia entered and took a seat in front of my desk. Lilius was absent. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Lilius will be late. Apparently there was an urgent matter at the Ministry of the Interior she had to attend. Shouldn't be long. What urgent matter? Very well, we'll wait. That's a couple minutes less of Lilius. Great. What urgent matter? She said something about supply distribution for the police forces. Nothing major. I returned to my reports, and Nia smoothed back an errant strand of her hair. There was an awkward silence. While we wait, why don't we have a little chat? Here we go. This might come off as a little strange, but I am proud of you. Despite everything, you are actually trying to reform the country. Oh, thank you. This is just the beginning. There's much more to do. It's we, Nia, not me. I couldn't do this by myself, so no, I am proud of you. Flattery won't work on me. What do you want? There is much more to do. Yes, although there is a lot to do, the future looks promising. Thank you for that. You are giving me hope that this country can get better. Your support makes me hope as well. It's not a matter of it can or it can't. It will get better. We will make it so. I will follow you anywhere as long as you keep making good decisions for the country. Well, I mean, the budget's bad. She leaned forward. How are you really holding up, Anton? Being the president, I mean. It's hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it's also the best thing I've ever done in my life. Nothing I can't handle. Feels like the whole weight of the country crushes me down every single day. I can imagine so much responsibility and so much power at the same time. I want to assist you and the country as best I can. Unfortunately, my hands are tied with the current budget allocation we have for the law enforcement. She barely finished the sentence. Before we heard a knock on the door. Nia almost jumped in her chair. Lilius Graff entered the room. Mr. President, Nia, I hope that I'm not interrupting your conversation. No, not at all. We were just discussing a few things. Nia smiled at Lilius. I'm sorry for being late. There was an important matter at the ministry. Just a small dispute over who should get the supplies. Nothing major. Lilius took the seat next to Nia as she continued talking. Before we begin, your call to boost the police to react to the protests has helped us tremendously in maintaining public safety. A few incidents seem to have happened due to the inexperience of the recruits coming from the police academy. They were relieved of duty immediately. Well then, let's go straight in. We'll provide a brief update on the situation of law enforcement. God, it would suck to be like, so you want to be a police officer, yeah? And you're going through police training, and all of a sudden, it's like say 3 days into training, you're supposed to be there for 2 months, but 3 days into training, suddenly you're a police officer now. And so you're like, oh God, I don't know what to do or how to do it. And you're just thrust into this situation where you have to work and you have to fix things and like maintain the peace. and you're looking around and you see like other people doing stuff, and you are still optimistic, so you try and you be like, I need to do this for blah blah blah, and then you fuck up once, and then you're just completely fired. You're just like, you didn't know what to do or how to do it. Get out. It's just like, but I wasn't trained properly. I don't care. Get out. We'll provide a brief update on the situation of law enforcement. Go ahead. Nia. The Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Court is working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Interior to address the protests in the country. I must add that thanks to the hard work of our judiciary, the law enforcement forces assigned to my ministry are doing their jobs efficiently. I would call it a success of our forces on the ground, not due to the judiciary branch of our government. Lilias shot Nia a brief, withering glance. The current budget has dampened hopes of more funding in the force. Yet here we are. The mass protests happening in the country. We are standing exactly where we were before. The decisions made need to reflect the current situation of the country. This was certainly not the right decision when we are dealing with mass protests. Agreed. Many in the Ministry of Justice hope for an increase and are not satisfied with the decision. Regardless, this seems we will have to deal with the growing court backlog. It is manageable, but it will be a challenge for sure. Don't worry, I'm sure you will manage. I had to make sacrifices for the good of Sordland. You will do as you are told with what you have. I had to make sacrifices for the good of Sordland. Sacrifices. These sacrifices might have very well damaged the structural integrity of Sordland. That remains to be seen, but the ripples are already being felt across the country. I hope this decision is not the beginning of something bad. A brief moment of deliberation passed. Seats. Well then, I must return to the ministry. Me too. They left the room. As soon as the door closed, I could hear their muffled voices as they argued. Yeah, they gon' argue. Alright. Protesters target sacred symbols. Sacred figures and symbols of the Dastrinity. Oh, hang on. My eye is watering. It's like sweaty and and I'm crying. So it's just all salt in my eye. Including Sir Das himself, become the target of vandalism as protests continue across Sordland. What initially began as a protest against the murder of Bernard Circus in January turned into rioters forcibly tearing down monuments of former Swordish politicians, saints, and other figures. Even if rioters are successful in removing the images of Saint Das and Target's Hall from parts of our society, they will only serve to strengthen our faith of our political will, said Curtin Lest, mayor of one of the worst-hit cities in Rica. All gave him time. Richter calls president to action. Head of Sordland's main opposition party, People's Freedom of Justice Party, Franz Richter, has said President Rayne needs to address issues like term limits and electoral threshold if Sordland's democracy, freedoms, and economy were to be developed. Richter also talked about the need for educational reforms and expressed the support for Minister of Education, Ciara Walda. Isn't that quite literally exactly what we did? The economist. Economy slowly recovering. Hey! Recession has slowed down last month. Showing signs of recovery, but makes no mistake, Sordland is still in a danger zone. The past several weeks has brought lots of mixed news in Sordland, but the good news came particularly from several regions hitting pre-recession output numbers. Thousands of people returning to work and Swordish citizens getting out and spending more. Manufacturers cranked up assembly lines again, and many businesses welcome back customers. You see, when you pay the workers a workable, living salary, they can then get the economy going. See, you business CEOs, you can't just fucking pay them nothing and expect the economy to move. Money isn't the issue, it's spending. You can't just have money, you have to spend money. That's how economics works. Anyway, we got an evening walk with Monica. It was early evening, still light out with just a faint nip in the air. Franck was at friends and Dina was at an art class. Monica and I decided to go out for a walk before dinner. Our favorite place for a stroll was nearby Capitol Park. A grease space and all Sordland. Before the children were born, we had spent many an evening engaged in deep conversation along the riverside promenade. Another favorite path wound through the woods behind the presidential housing complex to a private pond where the children could swim in summer. I was told that Sol himself had it built, the benefits of being president. Monica met me by the door, and we put on our coats and hats. I was going to suggest we walk towards Sol Square, but the guards told me it's been closed for yet another protest. I wonder who they are protesting this time. Doesn't matter, the two sides of the same coin. Common thugs, I'll make sure they are punished. Must be those damn communists again. Young swords are taking it too far. Two sides of the same coin. You always did believe yourself to be above the fray. Funny how becoming president changes one's perspective. I was young and stupid. I didn't know any better. In any case, where should we go? I'm not sure Capitol Park is a wise idea in this climate either. You're right. It's not worth the security risk. Let's stay inside the gates. Nonsense. We have our guards. There's nothing to be afraid of. You know what? She's right. I'm going to listen to my wife. I agree. Let's go then, before the children get home. Informed the guards about our route, and we left the house. The guards followed at a discreet distance as we headed towards the walking trail. As we entered the woods, Monica broke the silence. So, how was your day? Paperwork, endless meetings, the usual nightmare. Rather not say. I don't know. I imagine some might find that stimulating. I hope yours was better. Oh, it was fine. I caught up on some reading while the children were at school. Just outside the gate, I glimpsed Ioannis Krona, the former Minister of Justice, walking towards Capitol Park. I remembered that Nia Morgna used to be his vice minister. He didn't seem to notice us as he walked by. Ioannis had once fought hard and strong against Sol's judiciary reforms, but after years of the government blocking his every move, he gave up on his ideals and became part of the administration. What did our ideals really mean if they could be changed so easily? What about the people we idolize? Evelyn also came round for tea. She says hi. She was feeling rather low, though. Apparently she and Peter had been a bit of a disagreement. What's she nagging him about this time? Peter's in the doghouse again? How'd it happen? Apparently Peter had too much whiskey, as usual, and didn't believe when Evelyn's father was over for dinner yesterday. Behave. You know, Peter, what do you think of this? As Peter, perpetually pickled, I'll have to talk with him. It's just a rough patch, love. They'll be fine. To be honest, I don't care. It's just a rough patch. They'll be fine. I hope so. They always seem so close. Aren't you glad you and I don't have these kinds of quarrels? Being married to a shrew like her would make any... Okay, well, I'm not going to do that one. It seems kind of braggy, but it's not like fucking insulty. Monica didn't say anything. We kept walking. You know, Evelyn hasn't been the same since what happened to her at Holsword Post last year. You remember how she got fired for supporting Alfonso? Peter tried everything to get her job back, but it didn't work. Maybe he didn't try hard enough. She had it coming. Sad day for journalism and free speech in Sordland. I completely agree. A sad day indeed. But enough about the Vectons. I also spoke to Janice on the phone. Who? Oh, Janice. Right. You remember my friend from university? We were in the Swordlish literature class together. A few years younger than me, red hair, scar on her forehead. We had dinner with her and her husband once or twice. Neither the name nor the description ring a bell. That's right, that's Janice. So I don't remember her, but go on. Anyway, she's been working as an executive assistant at the Violet Pictures film studio. She recently became pregnant and asked her boss for paid maternity leave, and guess what? She was fired for it. Can her husband provide for the both of them while she raises the child? Look at it from a cost standpoint. Obviously, they don't want to lose money. After asking for maternity leave, that's terrible. I know. I was beside myself when she told me, and that's not all. They immediately replaced her with a younger, less experienced man, the son of an executive, no less. Now, that's unfortunate. That is utterly ridiculous. Nepotism, eh? They must have wanted him in there all along. That doesn't justify what they did to her. As it happens, another friend works for a television station that's hiring secretaries, so I connected the two of them. Doesn't solve the deeper problem, though. Terrific, problem solved. Well, both of these I wouldn't say. Yeah, whatever. I'll go with the first one since I'm leaning there. But both are kind of dismissive. Exactly, I knew you'd be on the same page. Women in this country are still seen as wives and mothers first, human beings second. They're harassed at work, underpaid, blocked from positions of power, and those are the lucky ones. The fact that there are still places in this country where little girls like Dina are denied the right to an education. Yes, and I will do what I can to change that. Go on, I'm sure the parents will have their reasons. Go on. These little girls and people like Janice need someone to speak on their behalf, a role model, a successful woman. We had reached the pond at the end of the trail. A park bench overlooked the water. Monica gestured to it, and we sat down. Which brings me to my point. I know that the mayor of Enrica, Curtin Lest, will be delivering a speech at the annual opening of the Benfey Festival. My wish is to take his place and deliver the speech instead. Okay, that one's noteworthy. People aren't informed, therefore good. Monica wants to speak at Benfey Festival. Festival in last place. Wife? You hurt wife? Combine! You killed wife? Curtin Less place. This is important. Les was one of Sordland's most influential politicians. He had started his career in Benfey before rising to power in Enrica. Benfey's current mayor had personally invited him to make the opening speech. Replacing you with Monica would likely anger him, not enough to cause a major incident, but enough that he might not support me in the assembly. I want to base the speech on women's rights in Sordland, on the opposition and discrimination we face every day, on the basis of our sex alone. Yeah. I want our voice heard, and this festival is the time to do it. I just need your blessing as my husband and the president of Sordland. Monica's eyes were blazing with the fire I hadn't seen since we were students. She wanted this badly. But I had to be careful with my promises. Give my full support. Sure, it's just a speech. What's the worst that could happen? Does it have to be at the festival? Why can't you make your speech another time? Absolutely not out of the question. This seems the most reasonable. I'm not saying no. I am curious, though. I want more information. It has to be now. Thousands go to this festival, and millions watch the speeches at home. Sordland's women can't wait any longer. You have my full support always. Sure, it's just a speech. What's the worst that can happen? Absolutely not. Out of the question. God damn it. It's important that I get this vote for the reforms. The reforms are the fucking most important thing possible. But also, my wife. You have my full support always. I mean, yes, but not in this particular case, because it's very complicated, and damn it. Okay, fucking sure it's a speech. What's the worst that can happen? No, I'm not gonna be dumb. I don't want to be so fucking forceful, though. Damn it! I still have to make decision 3. She's gonna be pissed at me. God damn it. God damn it. I hate this. This is the worst. Fucking... Alright, so the ramifications of this decision. First of all, I'm not doing 1. It's either 2 or 3. Maybe not 2, I don't know. But, like, here's the situation. I need the votes for in assembly because they're the ones that fucking change the world. They change the everything. They change the reforms that I need to pass. And I need full support in that. I need the reforms to happen. And we were just talking about nepotism, so why the hell are we also doing that? Hey, my wife was going to make the speech instead. But, like... Whatever, fucking 2. It's not just a speech. It's an opportunity for real change. An end to centuries of oppression. And the beginning of a more equal society. I won't let you down, Anton. Thank you. Monica beamed at me, her face flushed with excitement. One way or another, I'm going to find you. I want to contribute to this country, no matter what happens. We are not weak, Anton, but we are only strong as long as we stand by our ideals. Yeah, this is a trap, because it's a situation where I can't say no to my wife, because it's a no to all women, instead of just her. It's like fucking... It doesn't matter about the assembly and the reforms, blah, blah, blah. This is why I had married her, the passion and resolve. I should have anticipated that sooner or later she would join me in the political arena. Yeah, but it'd have to be this specific instance. We rose from the bench and started making our way back home. Otherwise, we will end up like... Soul. Ionis Corona. End up like Soul, honestly. Say what you will, but that relic of the past was, and frankly still is, one of the most idealistic people in Sordland. Yes, again. Alright. Making me actual think. This one... Exactly. He backed down in his ideals, and now everyone knows him for what he actually is. Spineless. If that was how people remembered Ionis, how would they remember me? Whatever we had done, whatever ideals he had lost, he must have had his reasons. Would they remember me as a true patriot, a reformer of the country? What would they write about me in the history books? Let's get back to the house for dinner. Of course, lead the way. Lead the way yourself. I need to do some thinking. I was starting to understand the meaning of those words. Of course, I'll lead the way. When we arrived home, I called the secretary, Livia, and asked her to inform Mr. Lest that Monica would be making the speech in his stead. The sun began to set over the horizon, bathing the clouds in a shade of orange and pink. Yeah, the issue here, and it is an issue, the issue here is that there's an invisible tally based on my decisions. I'm pissing off a lot of government. And when that happens, they're not going to want to follow my reform package. I thought that would be a thing that would affect me later, so... Okay. Captain Monica's offer to make the opening speech for the Benfey Festival instead of Mayor of Enrica, Curtin Lest. Alright, what do we got? Read the report from Bourne. Red Youth members charged with terrorism and treason. 12 militants from the Red Youth have been tried and sentenced to 96 years in prison due to terrorism and treason-related charges in Bourne. Many more Red Youth members are waiting for their turn in prison. The mayor of Bourne reports concerns about reaching the maximum capacity of the prisons in the region. It's just not a good time, honestly. Alright, what's Dare think? BFF bombs police station. That's bad. In a treacherous attack, the BFF, the Blues Freedom Front, has bombed a police station in Dare. Initial casualties are reported at 3 officers dead and 22 injured. The perpetrators have escaped into the Gumram Mountains near Suzerain, and a search has started to bring them to justice. The border guard has been notified of the attackers in case they try to flee to Welland. The Workers' Party of Bludia condemned the incident. Well, we're at the time buzzer here. I just want to say, Thank you guys so much for watching. I, of course, have been Keywii. You've been great too, and yourself a delightful day. I love you all. Goodbye.